I hadn't planned on attending my brother's engagement party. Not because I didn't care, people love to assume that, but because I already knew what kind of night it would be. The kind where polite smiles hid sharp judgments. The kind where whispers followed me like shadows. The kind where my presence alone made certain people uncomfortable. Still, my brother had called me that morning. "Just come," he said quietly. It would mean something to me. So I did. I arrived 10 minutes late, deliberately. Long enough for the room to settle into its rhythm. Long enough for everyone to forget to look toward the entrance. Long enough to avoid the dramatic pause that always came when people noticed me. The venue was extravagant, too extravagant. Crystal chandeliers, ivory tablecloths, waiters gliding across the marble floor with practiced elegance. The kind of place that screamed money, old connections, and quiet arrogance. I recognized it immediately. Not because I'd ever attended events like this growing up, but because I'd approved the renovation budget myself 2 years ago. I stepped inside wearing a simple black dress. No logos. No diamonds. No attempt to impress anyone. That was my first mistake. The laughter didn't stop when I entered. It slowed, bent, shifted in pitch. Conversations lowered, eyes flicked in my direction, then quickly away, as if acknowledging me would be impolite or contagious. I spotted my brother near the bar. He looked nervous, adjusting his tie again and again, scanning the room like he was afraid something might go wrong. When his eyes met mine, relief flashed across his face for half a second before it vanished behind obligation. Before I could reach him, someone blocked my path. Her. The bride-to-be. She was beautiful in the way magazines define beauty. Perfectly styled blonde hair, a champagne-colored dress hugging her frame, lips curved into a smile that never reached her eyes. She looked me up and down slowly, deliberately, like she was inspecting a stain on white fabric. Then she leaned in, close enough that only I could hear her. "You shouldn't have come," she whispered, her voice sugar-coated with cruelty. "Poor people ruin the photos." For a moment, the world went very quiet. Not because of what she said, but because of how easily she said it. Like it was a fact. Like it was obvious. Like I should have known my place. I didn't react. Didn't flinch. Didn't argue. I simply met her gaze and smiled. She frowned, clearly disappointed. People like her thrived on reactions. Tears. Anger. Embarrassment. Silence confused them. "You can stand in the back," she added, lowering her voice even further. "Just try not to be noticeable." Then she turned away, dismissing me like I was staff who'd wandered into the wrong room. I exhaled slowly. This wasn't new. My entire life, people had decided who I was before I opened my mouth. Growing up, I was always the quiet one. The unambitious one. The sibling who didn't need much. My parents had praised my brother loudly and publicly, while complimenting me in private, if at all. Teachers assumed I'd follow, not lead. Relatives introduced me as an afterthought. And I let them. Not because I believed them, but because it was useful. I finally reached my brother. He hugged me awkwardly, eyes darting over my shoulder. "She didn't say anything to you, did she?" he asked, too quickly. I smiled again. Nothing worth remembering. He didn't look convinced, but before he could press further, the music changed. Glasses clinked. Someone tapped a microphone. The bride's father stepped forward to make a speech. He talked about family, tradition, and hard work. He joked about how his daughter had married up and how lucky my brother was to be welcomed into such a respectable household. People laughed. Applauded. I listened carefully. Every sentence revealed more than he realized. Then came the moment I'd been waiting for without knowing it. The bride herself took the microphone. She spoke confidently, easily. Thanked everyone for coming. Made a joke about how stressful wedding planning was. Then, casually, she gestured around the room. And of course, she said, smiling sweetly, none of this would be possible without the company that supports our entire family. We're so grateful to work with people who understand loyalty. Her eyes flicked toward me for a split second. A challenge. She had no idea. No idea that the company she referred to wasn't some faceless corporation. No idea that her father's position existed because I'd signed off on it. No idea that her own contract renewal sat in my inbox, unopened. I raised my glass slightly, returning her smile. She smirked back. The speeches ended. Music resumed. People relaxed again, convinced the night was proceeding exactly as it should. That was when I noticed the senior partners arriving. 3 men. 1 woman. All dressed impeccably. All people who knew me well. Very well. They spotted me instantly. And froze. One of them, David, looked from me to the bride, then back again, his expression tightening with sudden understanding. He walked toward me, fast. Why didn't you tell us you were coming tonight? He asked quietly, concern lacing his voice. I shrugged. I wasn't sure I would. His eyes flicked toward the stage, where the bride laughed loudly with her friends. She knows who you are, right? He asked. I took a slow sip of champagne. No, I said calmly. She doesn't. David went pale. David didn't move away from me. Instead, he subtly positioned himself at my side, like someone standing next to a live wire. His presence alone changed the energy around us. People noticed. They always did when senior partners clustered in one place. You really should tell her, he said under his breath. Before this turns complicated. I glanced across the room. The bride was laughing with her parents, her hand resting possessively on my brother's arm. My brother looked tense now, his smile thinner than before. He'd noticed the attention gathering around me. Complicated for who? I asked calmly. David didn't answer. More executives arrived. Not invited guests, decision-makers. People who usually avoided family events unless there was a reason. They greeted me politely, respectfully. One even nodded and said, "Good evening," like this was a boardroom, not a celebration. Whispers spread. Who is she? Why do they know her? Is she important? The bride noticed too. She excused herself from her group and walked toward us, heels clicking sharply against the marble floor. Her smile was still there, but it had hardened around the edges. David, she said brightly, slipping effortlessly into familiarity. I didn't realize you'd be joining us tonight. David inclined his head, professional but distant. I wouldn't have missed it. Her eyes slid back to me. The smile faltered. Oh, she said lightly, pretending surprise. You two know each other? Yes, David replied before I could speak. Very well. Silence. The bride laughed, too loudly. That's interesting. I didn't realize you worked with. She gestured vaguely in my direction. I thought she was just family. I am, I said softly. She tilted her head. Family to whom? To the company, I replied. Her brows knit together. Confusion flickered across her face, quickly masked by irritation. I think there's been some misunderstanding, she said, lowering her voice. This is a private event. David straightened. It's being hosted at a venue your company leases. One approved by her. That did it. The color drained from the bride's face just a little. Before she could respond, her father joined us, drawn by instinct or unease. He smiled broadly, the smile of a man used to controlling rooms. Is everything all right here? He asked. Yes, the bride said quickly. Just sorting out some confusion. Her father looked at me with mild disdain. And you are? I met his gaze without blinking. Someone you report to. A sharp laugh escaped him. I beg your pardon? David cleared his throat. She's the majority stakeholder. Founder appointed. Final authority. The room seemed to inhale. The bride's father stared at David, then at me, then laughed again, but this time, it sounded forced. That's not funny. I'm not joking, David said evenly. The bride's hand tightened around her glass. This is ridiculous, she snapped. You're embarrassing us. I turned to her fully for the first time that night. You embarrassed yourself the moment you decided I didn't belong here. People were openly watching now. Conversations had stopped. Phones lowered. Music faded into background noise. My brother stepped forward. What's going on? He asked, his voice tight. I looked at him, really looked at him. He knew. He'd always known more than he admitted. You didn't tell her? I asked. He swallowed. I tried. She didn't listen. The bride stared at him. Tell me what? That I don't work at the company, he said quietly. I work for her. Her mouth opened. Closed. Opened again. That's not possible, she whispered. She dresses like someone who doesn't need to prove anything, I finished. Her father's face was now fully pale. You're saying, you control the contracts? Yes. The budget approvals? Yes. The renewals? His voice cracked. I nodded. A long, unbearable silence followed. Then the bride laughed. It was brittle. Desperate. This is some kind of power play, right? A joke? No, I said gently. This is your reality. Her mother rushed forward, trying to salvage the moment. We didn't know, she said quickly. If we'd known, you would have behaved differently? I asked. That's not the defense you think it is. The bride's eyes filled with tears, not of remorse, but fear. What happens now? She asked. I took another slow sip of champagne, savoring the moment she denied me earlier. Now, I said, we finish the party. She looked stunned. I'm not canceling anything tonight, I continued. Weddings are stressful enough. But tomorrow morning, contracts will be reviewed. Roles reconsidered. Attitudes remembered. Her father slumped into a chair. My brother exhaled shakily, relief and guilt tangled together. The bride said nothing more. She couldn't. The engagement party continued, but it was never the same. Laughter sounded hollow. Smiles didn't last. People avoided my gaze, unsure whether to fear or flatter me. I left early. As I walked toward the exit, David caught up with me. You were merciful, he said. I paused. No, I replied. I was patient. The wedding still happened. That was the part no one expected. 2 weeks later, white flowers filled the same ballroom, crystal chandeliers glowing softly as if nothing had cracked beneath them. Guests arrived smiling, dressed in silken tailored suits, whispering about seating charts and champagne brands. On the surface, everything looked perfect. Underneath, everything was already over. I arrived late on purpose. Not to make an entrance, just to observe. The bride stood at the altar, flawless in lace and diamonds, but her eyes kept scanning the room. She was looking for me. Fear has a way of sharpening attention. My brother stood beside her, stiff, distant, like a man watching his own future from behind glass. The ceremony ended. Applause followed. Cameras flashed. Then came the reception. That's when the emails landed. Phones vibrated across the room, simultaneously. Executives. Department heads. Legal teams. Investors. One by one, smiles faded as people checked their screens. Subject line, immediate restructuring notice. I didn't need to say a word. The bride's father excused himself first, face tight, walking fast toward a quiet corner. Her mother followed seconds later. The bride noticed. She always noticed when control slipped. My brother looked at me from across the room. I met his eyes and gave him a small nod, not cruel, not kind. Final. Within minutes, the whispers returned, louder this time. They lost the logistics contract. Compliance audit just froze their accounts. Legal says their division is being dissolved. The bride approached me, dress rustling like something fragile and expensive. You said tomorrow, she whispered, voice trembling. You said tomorrow? I said reviews would begin tomorrow, I replied calmly. Consequences don't wait for convenient timing. Tears welled in her eyes, but none fell. Pride still held the line. You're doing this to punish us, she said. No, I corrected. I'm doing this to protect what I built. Her father returned, pale and shaking. Please, he said quietly. Let's talk. We can fix this. I looked at him the same way he'd looked at me that night, dismissive, uninterested. There's nothing to fix, I said. You didn't lose this company tonight. You lost it the moment you decided respect depended on appearances. The music continued playing. Guests danced, unaware that entire careers were collapsing between songs. My brother stepped forward then. Is there anything I can do? He asked. Not as a groom. Not as a husband. As a man choosing sides too late. I studied him for a long moment. Yes, I said. You can stop pretending you didn't benefit from their contempt. He flinched. I never asked for. You never refused it either, I replied. Silence. He nodded slowly, like someone accepting a verdict. Then I'll resign, he said. Effective immediately. The bride turned to him, stunned. You can't be serious. I am, he said quietly. I married you. I won't inherit your arrogance too. That was the moment the marriage ended, before the cake was cut, before the first dance finished. I left shortly after. 3 months later, the fallout was complete. The bride's family sold their house. Their business split into fragments, bought cheaply by competitors who had once feared them. Lawsuits followed. Then silence. My brother moved overseas. We speak occasionally, not warmly, not bitterly. Honestly. As for me? I promoted quietly. I invested carefully. I kept my name off buildings and my face out of magazines. Power works better when it doesn't announce itself. Sometimes I think about that first moment, the whisper, the cruel smile, the assumption that I was small. People like that never imagine consequences wearing simple clothes. They never expect the quiet one to own the room. And they never realize the worst mistake isn't disrespect. It's underestimating who's listening.